When we experience betrayal in a relationship, it can be one of the most devastating experiences we go through. It's normal to feel hurt, angry, and confused. The trust that we had in our partner is now gone, and it can seem impossible to ever regain that trust. But it's important to know that healing is possible, and that we can learn to trust again. In this video, we're going to discuss some tips on how to regain trust in your partner after betrayal. We'll talk about understanding the betrayal, communicating with your partner, and healing and moving forward. Betrayal can take many forms, such as emotional or physical infidelity. It's important to acknowledge the specific type of betrayal that has occurred in your relationship and understand the feelings that come with it. These feelings are normal, and it's important to allow yourself to feel and process them. But it's also important not to let them consume you. It's not easy, but it's possible to regain trust in your relationship. In this video, we'll explore the importance of open and honest communication, setting boundaries and establishing new trust-building habits, and self-care and self-reflection. We'll also discuss that rebuilding trust takes time, and progress may be slow but steady, and sometimes it's necessary to seek professional counseling. We hope that this video can provide you with some helpful tips and guidance on how to regain trust in your relationship after betrayal. Also, I would recommend you to add some personal anecdotes, examples from your own experience, real stories or testimonials from people who have gone through something similar. It can help to make the video more relatable. It can even get the audience emotionally involved and helps to keep their attention. Understanding betrayal. The first step in rebuilding trust in a relationship after betrayal is to fully understand the betrayal that occurred. As we mentioned earlier, betrayal can take many forms such as emotional or physical infidelity. It's important to be clear on what form of betrayal has occurred in your relationship. It's also important to understand the feelings that come with betrayal. It's normal to feel hurt, anger, and confusion. It's important to allow yourself to feel and process these emotions. Give yourself the time and space you need to grieve and process what happened. It's important to acknowledge that it's a difficult and painful process, but it's a necessary one. It's important to remember that feelings of betrayal can be overwhelming, and they can take a toll on you emotionally, physically, and mentally. In the aftermath of a betrayal, it's common to have trouble sleeping, eating, or even focusing. It can be difficult to maintain motivation for your everyday activities. It's important to take care of yourself and your well-being. Seek help if you feel overwhelmed or if you feel like the emotions are too much to bear. It's also important to understand that betrayal can affect not only the individual who has been betrayed, but also the relationship as a whole. It can damage trust, connection, intimacy, and communication. The betrayal can bring up feelings of uncertainty, insecurity, and mistrust. It's important to address these feelings and to have open and honest communication with your partner about how it affects you and the relationship. It's important to keep in mind that understanding the betrayal is not about blaming or punishing your partner, but about having a clear understanding of what has happened and to start the process of healing and rebuilding trust. As you can see, it can be useful to give more detail and examples on the topic of betrayal in general, not only the emotional and physical infidelity, so the audience can relate better and can better understand the situation. Communicating with your partner. Once you have a clear understanding of the betrayal, the next step is to communicate openly and honestly with your partner. Communicating with your partner is crucial in rebuilding trust. This can be a difficult conversation to have, but it's an important one. It's important to have a conversation about what happened, how it made you feel, and what your needs are in moving forward. When approaching this conversation, it's important to set aside a specific time to talk, when both of you are calm and not distracted. This will help to ensure that the conversation stays focused and constructive. It's also important to use I statements, so that the conversation focuses on how you feel, rather than placing blame on your partner. This can help to avoid defensiveness and can make it easier to have a productive conversation. It's important to also listen to your partner's perspective. It's essential to understand where they are coming from and to acknowledge their feelings. This can help to create an open and honest dialogue. During this conversation, it's important to discuss what each of you need to hear and do to begin rebuilding trust. For example, an apology, an explanation of why the betrayal occurred, or the opportunity to ask any questions you may have. It's important to keep in mind that rebuilding trust takes time, and it's not something that will happen overnight. It will take patience and effort from both partners. Keep in mind that rebuilding trust requires consistency, honesty, and transparency. It's important to establish new trust-building habits and to be willing to put in the work to regain trust. It's also important to point out that sometimes communication alone is not enough, and it's a good idea to consider seeking professional counseling to work through deeper issues or emotional wounds. A therapist can help you navigate the healing process and can give you tools to communicate effectively and to rebuild trust in a healthy way. Healing and moving forward. As we mentioned before, rebuilding trust takes time, and it's important to be patient with yourself and your partner. Healing is a process that requires both emotional and practical steps. It's important to take care of yourself both physically and emotionally. Self-care is essential in this process. It's important to do things that make you happy, to focus on your own well-being, and to surround yourself with supportive people. It's also important to set boundaries and establish new trust-building habits in the relationship. It's important to have open and honest communication with your partner about what you need and what you are comfortable with. It's important to understand and respect each other's boundaries. It's also important to establish new trust-building habits in the relationship, such as being transparent about phone, email, or social media usage. Rebuilding trust is also a process of forgiveness, not only for your partner, but also for yourself. It's important to understand that it's okay to have feelings of anger and resentment, but it's important not to let those feelings consume you. Forgiveness is a choice, and it's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, it takes work, but it's worth it. It's important to keep in mind that rebuilding trust takes time, and progress may be slow but steady. It's essential to remember that this is a process, it's not something that can be fixed overnight. Trust is built over time, and it requires patience and effort from both partners. In some cases, professional counseling can be helpful in rebuilding trust. A therapist can help you navigate the healing process and can give you tools to communicate effectively and to rebuild trust in a healthy way. In conclusion, rebuilding trust after betrayal takes time, effort, and patience, but it's possible. Keep in mind that it's a process that requires open and honest communication, self-care, boundaries, and forgiveness. Remember to be patient with yourself and your partner, and to focus on rebuilding trust in a healthy and sustainable way. Closing. In this video, we've discussed some tips on how to regain trust in your partner after betrayal. We've talked about understanding the betrayal, communicating with your partner, and healing and moving forward. Betrayal is never easy, but it is possible to regain trust in a relationship. Remember to communicate openly and honestly with your partner, take care of yourself, and be patient. It's important to understand that rebuilding trust takes time, and it's a process that requires patience, effort, and forgiveness. It's also important to keep in mind that seeking professional counseling can be helpful in navigating the healing process. If you're going through this process, know that you're not alone. Betrayal is a common experience, and many people have successfully rebuilt trust in their relationships. Remember to give yourself the time and space you need to heal, to communicate openly with your partner, and to focus on rebuilding trust in a healthy and sustainable way. We hope this video was helpful and provided you with some guidance on how to regain trust in your partner after betrayal. We encourage you to leave your comments and share your own experiences with betrayal and rebuilding trust. Your feedback can help others who may be going through similar experiences. Thanks for watching. It's important to remind the audience that rebuilding trust is a process that requires time, effort, and patience. The forgiveness on both sides is essential for healing, not only for the person that has been betrayed, but also for the person who caused the betrayal. Emphasize that no one is alone on this journey, and that it's possible to regain trust in a relationship after a betrayal. Encourage the audience to share their own experiences and to keep an open mind while they work through the healing process.